Your blades, when you're working in the garden, should be almost razor sharp all the time. Actually, I've sharpened this one too, I noticed. But you also want them to be lightweight. You can see that the blade comes with some screwdriver tops, or some screw tops on them. These are actually built to be, you actually wear these down and replace them after a couple of years. And you can just buy replacement blades.
Okay, right behind you.
You told that. Thank you. So the 6-inch trapezoid hoe is best because it's easy to work between plants. And I like it because it's wider and it's also sharp. So,
what do you call raking, what you're doing right now?
Well, I'm just disturbing the soil surface. So I have little seedlings popping up and I'm just working around. Now I want you to notice how I'm holding it. I'm holding it like a broom. This is really important. And we're going to do a lot of this at the next workshop, because when you're going to be spending a lot of time in the garden, you don't want to be like this in an ergonomically incorrect position, ruining your back, right? Most people with hoes are doing this. And it's not the best way to do it. You want to be upright, you want your shoulders back, and you should be able to stand and just easily work your soil. You can see how quickly you could do a small garden with a hoe, right? Especially if these trees weren't in the way, right? So this is the 6-inch hoe, this trapezoid hoe is also good for tougher weeds, which you have like around. Excuse me for a second. So, you know, it's nice for cultivating, but also if I get into some tough weeds like this, I can just chop them right out. Easily. Really fast. Now if it wasn't so wet, we could all practice out in the garden. But
For about now.
we'll have to save that fun for next time. Alright, another hoe you should be familiar with is the stirrup hoe. Okay. I'm showing you a really bad practice. These tools should never be put away dirty like this. And I've done it. Did you have that file? No. When you're done with your tools, it is better to wash them and get the dirt off than to leave them. Which, you know, I think metal tools and water, that's like, you never do those together, right? But it's better to have them clean and wet because they'll at least dry, but when you have the soil on it, that really causes them to rust. Filing your tools is something everybody's going to learn. We'll definitely cover it in detail next time, but on all of the tools, there's a little edge, or at least any good tool. Now, if you go to Farm King and look for a hoe, it's going to be awful. I mean, it is not worth anything. You'd be better making your own hoe out of shells or something. I mean, they're terrible. And nobody in town carries anything worth having, I don't think. Anyway, you want a sharp edge on these, so you just file it right along that edge. And if you're learning to do this, you might want to wear gloves, because these actually get really sharp, and I'm just used to cutting myself, as you can tell, probably. You want sharp edges. And when I'm working with a tool, I'll do this every 20 minutes, because I want it just razor sharp all the time, because any tool that cuts, you want sharp. And this tool works like this. A lot of farmers that I know use these a lot. Does anybody see a problem with this though?
Bent over.
You can't,
Yeah, I'm bent over and I'm hunched. The wheel hoe is basically, it's a stirrup hoe with a wheel, obviously. Okay, and the wheel hoe works like this. And again, we'll be doing a lot of this next time. Look how much area I can cover in a short time. This is what I use for all of my paths. Bingo. All of that is clear of weeds. And you can see how this is something you could actually do every 10 days or so. It's fairly pleasant work, right? Okay, these are two different brands of collinear hose. Very, very thin, very good for a dry soil like this. It's not. Oh, that's what it is. Again, hand here, And I always switch hands as often as I can. Everything should be left and right. This is really good because it doesn't catch a lot of dirt. I use this probably almost as much as the big trapezoid hoe. And then this is another Clinier hoe, which is just smaller and is good for working between tightly spaced rows. If you look out the door, the lettuce and the spinach are spaced about that far apart. That's too wide a spacing for this hoe, so I use this hoe on that. And this is handy for getting into really tight places. This is a new tool from last year that I just picked up last year. I use this all the time. It is great for mixing in. Like you see, my soils are really loose in here. I can mix in compost, fertilizer, you know, peat moss, whatever, very easily with this, and I can prepare new ground with it also. I don't even know what it's called. Does anybody? You don't know, do you?
3-pronged.
Yeah, 3-pronged something. Okay, so when you're preparing the soil, you can use this, and it's also like we used this around the asparagus the other day.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a good, just breaks up that surface layer real easily.
It doesn't snag on plants, which most hoes will either cut or break off. The fact that they're only oriented away from you and not across at all means that you can run it through stuff that you can't use vegetables.
And then another tool I use for weeds when they're very small is the rake. So if, like around the asparagus plants, I just break up that soil surface, you know, about once a week, and this covers a lot of space at once.